So Bold and Becoming is an initiative. I took the initiative this year. It's an initiative to empower, encourage, and enable women and youth all around us through free of cost webinars and workshops every month. So I have been doing these workshops with EMK Center from probably like end of January every month from now on. And we have been done with third workshop. We're going to be doing our fourth workshop this month, end of this month. Apart from EMK Center is like সবার জন্য উন্মুক্ত যে কোনো কেউ যেখান থেকে join করতে পারে. But other than EMK Center, I'm reaching out to this different school groups, university groups, and doing these workshops with them. Like I have done this workshop with in districts like Borishal, Madaripur, Rangpur, Kumilla, and then school groups from Sylhet, different nursing colleges. So it has been a wonderful experience doing this workshop. So now I'm going to be talking about 3 different purposes of this initiative and 3 different focuses of this initiative. So one of the biggest purposes is to create strong networks of women and youths in Bangladesh. And one of the second purpose is to cultivate self-love, self-respect, confidence, and courage, which is very important, Bangladesh's moto jayga especially. And the third one is to achieve SDG number 5, which is gender equality. এখন অনেকে জিজ্ঞেস করে যে আপু এটা করে লাভ কি, এটা কিভাবে অ্যাচিভ করবেন, এত বড় বড় 3টা পারপাসের কথা তো বলে ফেললেন। 3টা পারপাস অ্যাচিভ করব কিভাবে? So last year I had this assessment because I was speaking to few other girls separately, and I realized যে আমার কাছে মনে হচ্ছিল যে there's instances when I feel like the student body of Bangladesh, I'm not going to generalize, but need some little more guidance. They need a little more organization. Sometimes they're lost. If I ask someone, Jay, where do you want to see yourself in next 1 year or 5 years? They don't have the goals. Goals that could be tangible, but more than goals, like a life path, but direction though. So in order to help them with that, I feel like, you know what, this can be a good initiative and this can be done. তাদেরকে একটু গাইড করা, তাদেরকে একটু গোল সেট করতে হেল্প করা। এখন শুধু গোল সেট করলেই তো হলো না, গোলটাকে অ্যাচিভ করতে হবে, and you have to achieve that through different leadership skills, organization skills, time management. So my whole purpose through these workshops are to help them to learn about different leadership skills so that they can achieve those goals. And 3 নাম্বারটা খুবই ইম্পর্টেন্ট, আমি জানি আমি তোমাদের সবাইকে বলছি, just to be mentors, because I really want to cultivate that culture of mentor-mentee relationship building. Mentor যদি না থাকে, একটা role model যদি লাইফে না থাকে, because 10 years back I believe I didn't have that much of an active role model in my life যার সাথে আমি ফোন করে বলতে পারবো আপু আমার ব্রেকআপ হয়েছে, how should I deal with it? বা আপু how can I, আমার পরীক্ষার আগে stress out লাগতেছে, what have you done? Things like that, someone to look up to with great admiration and someone to talk to. So a mentor-mentee relationshipটা যাতে build করতে help করা যায়, we're working on that. So এটা হচ্ছে 3টা purpose, 3টা objective of Bold and Becoming. And today is 3rd webinar of Bold and Becoming, and the name of this Women Empowerment and Habits. And I'm so grateful to all of you to join me. And now I will be starting by introducing 3 different great leaders over here, and we will start the whole webinar discussion. Should I start with Adnan Bhaiya, because I can see Adnan Bhaiya in my screen first. So so Adnan Bhaiya, I was just practicing how to introduce you, because you are this guru of economics. Like, you know so much about economics. I know you're currently lecturing at your alma mater, because you did your master's in University of Sussex. You did your PhD in University of Australia, Western Australia. So you are this economics guru and you know so much, and you're this economics leader. I wish যখন আমি economics পড়তাম O levels, I would have you as a teacher. That would have been fantastic. But thank you so much for being who you are and always harnessing more knowledge to contribute and distribute to others. So I truly look up to you with great admiration. And thank you so much for joining me today. And with that, আমি সামিরা আপুর কাছে আসতে চাই। I have a very interesting story যে আমি সামিরা আপুকে কিভাবে চিনি। সামিরা আপুকে আমি চিনি through her niece আমি রায়না। So আমি রায়নাকে কে না চেনে? So আমি রায়নার হাত ধোয়া থেকে শুরু করে আমি রায়নার ছোট ভাইটাকে বলা কি মামা দুধ দেয় না, that's so cute. So আমি রায়নার আম্মু shared this story or shared something about you, and I felt one of your poem, because you are such an incredible poet, the way you cultivate art. So I saw this little piece of writing or a poem or something, and I started following you then and there. And through that, you always like inspire me. And like whenever I see your stories, if it's related to your parents, if it's related to something you publish, because you're this great journalist, you publish in New York Times, The Guardian, Washington Post, Al Jazeera. And as a Bengali, like as a Bengali woman, trust me, whenever I write to je apu, amar chokhe pani chole asche when I see that, and I really mean it. Je, can you imagine, আমি কয়টা বাঙালি মেয়েকে চিনি যারা নিউ ইয়র্ক পোস্টে লিখছে, আমি কয়টা বাঙালি নিউ ইয়র্ক টাইমসে লিখছে, আমি কয়টা বাঙালিকে চিনি যারা আল জাজিরাতে লিখছে, আমি কয়টা বাঙালিকে চিনি যারা এইচবিও ম্যাক্সে poetry kortase. So it's beautiful the way you do everything with grace and splendor. Like I really look up to you as a great role model. Thank you so much for being this luminary, being this diva. And I truly appreciate the fact that you included auntie's name in your last name. And I was telling to one of my colleagues that, you know what, this lady from Bangladesh has done that, and you know what, I will be doing that soon, because I felt that is so incredible, that is so powerful, because nowhere in my name I have my ammu. And amar nam chitro lekha kor. So the fun fact is amar babar nam chittoranjan. So আমার বাবার সাথে CHI টা খুবই common. So CHI এর সাথে চিত্র লেখা। আমার ভাইয়ের নাম চিন্ময় কর. So the last name I have from my dad, and the CHI I have from the starting of Chi everywhere. So I really need to include my mom somewhere in my name. So that part was so incredible.
Thank you. My mom she just walked into the room.
Sorry,
hi, auntie.
She knocked and she walked in.
I knocked and walked in.
I love you so much. Trust me, although I don't know you, but I have seen you so many times in Samira Asma-Sadeque's stories, and the way you celebrate everyone in your family members. ছোট নোট যে আপনি লিখেন, ছোট করে নোট লিখেন, gift package বানান. Those are so cute.
What are we supposed to do, especially at this package?
That is beautiful. Trust me, that is
so
loving.
Nice talking to you. And I did walk in, but right at that moment when it was that kind of talk, so I did not just
no, she
just joking.
She said we were just talking about my name change, that you just came in right
there.
So
wonderful. That's such a I know. I mean,
yeah,
that's such an honor. I mean, and I got to live to see that in my senses. I mean, what you know what I mean. I mean, there are so many things which happens after you leave. So that's such an honor where I can relish and live, and knowing that's wonderful. I mean, that's totally out of this world. Nice knowing you. We'll talk later and catch up.
Same here. You must be a proud mother. Thank you. Bye, Auntie. Bye.
Sorry, I just had to. I was like, this is
no worries. Absolutely. It had been a wonderful pleasure meeting her in person, virtually, because I've been seeing her and uncle and Iraina, Borapu. Maybe I have met most of your family members through your stories, except for your little younger sister. But that's wonderful. Last but not the least, Faiza Apu and Famida Apu, I don't know what to call you. You have been, কিভাবে start করি বলো, তোমাকে দিয়ে আমার মডেল ইউনাইটেড নেশনের হাতে খড়ি. So you imagine who you are to me. So you are this strong leader out there right now. I know you have pioneered in this incredible industry, football federation, sports industry, and you're the first female who's safeguarding, and first female who's the head of South Asian Federal Football Association. So this is incredible. আমি যেটা বললাম যে সামিরাপুর জন্য, as a Bengali woman, your continued leadership and your inspiring activities, you don't know how many young women you are contributing to, how many young women out there, young women and men are looking up to you with such great admiration. Tumar, I know you have represented Bangladesh in so many United Nations bodies, so many international platforms. I don't want to the list continues, the laundry list cannot end. And right now, I was recently looking to your LinkedIn post that you got I was just started by that you got the privilege to be so close to the FIFA World Cup. And I would say that's such an incredible privilege to be with. And You are this great leader, Apu, and Bangladesh needs to continue to hold on to you because people need more Faiza out there. Trust me, the way you are doing, the things you are doing, we truly love that. And I truly love that. And there are so many things we can learn from you. So thank you so much for coming and joining me. And আমি তোমাকে অনেক ছোটবেলা থেকে চিনি, আজ থেকে 12-15 বছর আগে, and I know যে model unitions করার সময় we had some amazing stories, amazing experiences. I truly relish them, and it's truly memorable to me. আমাদের বানমান bracket যেটা হলো, those are some wonderful experiences I have. So thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining me today. So the first question, I find it very strong. I find it very interesting. Why do Bangladeshi women tend to forgo their household, I put it in the parentheses, household decision making and or financial authority despite of being economically empowered? Questionটা বাংলা হচ্ছে যে কেন বাংলাদেশি মহিলারা সচরাচর যেটা হয় যে নিজেরা আর্ন করছে ঠিকই, কিন্তু তারপরেও তাদের বাসার মধ্যে বা বাইরের মধ্যে অনেক সময় তারা নিজেদের ডিসিশনটা নেয় না, বা তাদের ডিসিশনটা নেওয়ার সময় তারা ওই ডিসিশনটা হয়তো বা অন্য কারোর উপরে ডিপেন্ড করে, বা ফিনান্সিয়াল যে অথরিটি যে না আমি টাকা কামাচ্ছি, এটা আমার টাকা, আমি এটা ডিসিশন নিব বা এটা আমার ওনারশিপ, সেই জিনিসটা অনেক সময় হয়ে থাকে না। অনেক মেজরিটি অফ দ্য কেসেস বাংলাদেশের প্রেক্ষাপটে তার ইকোনমিক কন্ডিশন ওভার দেয়ার, কেন সেটা হয়? If one of you can start with that. Who should I start with? Should I start with Samira?
Wow, I remember reading that, and I think when I read it differently. I read it kind of more in a marriage or a family situation, which I think is actually, that is where it happens, right? Like if I'm a single woman, I'm unmarried, and when I'm earning, my decision making is my own decision making, right? But like you tend to forego that when you're in a family situation, when you are married. And I think like just thinking about it now differently when you read it out, I think it's essentially just that. It's the presence of a man, a male figure, which we just deem, is kind of our default sense of authority, which is our default sense of the person who's smarter, the person who knows better. And so when that equation arises, you kind of just submit to it, for the lack of a better word. Because I'm also saying this as a person who's unmarried, surrounded by women who are married, who are partnered, right, and who have their own profession and have their own career and are earning, but they have this added dynamic, which is what's essentially kind of changing a little bit of the decision making factor, right? But I think in order to address that, I think we have been, that quote, I can't remember who said it. It's an internet meme somewhere, but it goes something like, we've raised our women to be feminists, but we haven't raised men to not handle, but like to be like working with, like, you know what I mean? We raised one part of the solution, we didn't raise the other part of the solution, right? And so that is what comes into play, right? Like a lot of men who are well-meaning, right, not with malice or any kind of wrong intention, who are genuinely believing they're doing the right thing, will tend to be that dynamic, very underlying, often latent dynamic that kind of just eventually reverts the power back to them. And women are participants in this as well, right? We're just so conditioned, right? When you grow up being so conditioned to something, it's like you don't know what you don't know. You don't know what you've been growing up with is wrong, right? So I think a lot of, I know you didn't ask for solution, but that tends to be where I usually go. But I think just like off the top of my head, thinking that like something that I practice in my daily life is kind of like having that conversation with I do it more with race than with gender, where, in the US, there's a lot of conversation about, for example, anti-Black racism within the South Asian community, right? And we've all grown up with it, right? So kind of like having that conversation with myself is like, is this a race-based decision? Like, how would I react different if this was a white guy? You know what I mean? Things like that. So I think kind of like be able to like kind of mimic that in like other gender-based equations. It's like, would I think this person's being arrogant if this person was a guy? You know, like things like that. But I think it's just a constant state of questioning and trying to make sure that what we are unlearning is like going the full way. Yeah.
Some true important points. Absolutely. Absolutely. I cannot agree more on that. The way we are conditioned, we has to change and must change in order to make the change out there. Because on the first webinar, I don't know, maybe some of you might know her. Shehrin Apu ashchilo, Shehrin Ataur Khan. So she is currently teaching in Jahangirnagar University as an adjunct professor, but she did her master's in women's studies and women and gender studies, and she was mentioning that আমাদের বাংলাদেশে যেটা হয় যে মেয়েদেরকে বাসা থেকে কন্ডিশন করা হয় যে মা তুমি ঘরের লক্ষ্মী, জেনারেল মানে অনেক অনেক ক্ষেত্রে। আর ছেলেটাকে কন্ডিশন করা হয় যে বাবা তোমাকে কিন্তু সবার টেক কেয়ার করতে হবে, একটা ফ্যামিলির রেসপন্সিবিলিটি নিতে হবে। সো যখন এটা হয়, আপু যেটা বললো একটু আগে, সামের আপু, যে মেয়েটাকে তো জানতে হবে যে কি আমি জানি না, কি আমার সাথে রং হচ্ছে, সেটাই তো সে জানে না। এই পার্টটুকুতে তো সব জায়গায় আমি যদি নাই জানি যে দেয়ার ইজ 10th ফ্লোর আপ দেয়ার, আমি কিভাবে 10th ফ্লোরে যাব? আমি যদি 5th ফ্লোরেই, আর আমার দুনিয়ার জগৎটাই 5th ফ্লোর পর্যন্ত, বিকজ নোবডি এভার taught me, nobody ever awared me যে there is something out there also. তুমি রংটা কি সেটাই তো বুঝবো না। আমি দেখছি ভাবে বড় হচ্ছে, things are right, আমার টাকাটা হয়তো কাউকে দিয়ে দিতে হবে, আমাকে কেউ কথা বললে আমার হয়তো চুপ করে বসে শুনতে হবে, this is right in my world. And I have not seen anyone around me speaking up. তখন আমি জানবো কিভাবে, বুঝবো কিভাবে যে না, this is my rights, you cannot do that. আমি যদি চাই আজকে আমার টাকাটা নিয়ে আমি ডিসিশনটা নিব, I can definitely do that, and there is nothing selfish about it. The other part of the part is যে আমাদের মেয়েদেরকে এমন ভাবে কন্ডিশন করা হয়, আমি জানি না ছেলেদের ব্যাপারটা ডিফারেন্ট হতে পারে, যে if you prioritize about yourself, then being a girl in the house, and if you're prioritizing, in most of the cases that might be, think like Janab or একটা আম্মুকে, বা the architecture of the house, can you imagine the kitchen, the small part of the kitchen, and আম্মু এটা যে glorify করা যে oh my god, you are the glue of the whole house, you are taking in so much, you have so much patience, যে এই পার্টটুকুকে যে glorify করা, but আর যাকে গ্লোরিফাই করছি সেও হয়তো বুঝতে পারতেছে না যে ইউ আর টেকিং ইন সো মাচ, ইউ হ্যাভ টু টেক রেস্ট অলসো, ইটস ইউর রাইট টু টেক দ্য রেস্ট। সে তাকে হয়তো বা বোঝানোই হয়েছে যে the more you take, the more bigger you are. But in some cases you have to learn to take rest also, in some cases you have to learn to say no also. So with that, আমার স্ক্রিনে next আমি the Faiza Apu. So Apu, can you just tell me, Jay, what do you think about it? Why do Bangladeshi women tend to forgo their decision making or financial authority despite of being economically empowered? I know you are an economically empowered woman. You are the strongest female person, maybe one of the strongest female person I know. So তোমার থেকে আমি answerটা শুনতে চাই।
Thank you so much, Pooja. First, thanks for inviting, and of course, this spectacular set of panelists. It's truly an honor to join. Ami first bolbo je a lot has been said by Samira actually, that the social conditioning, and you have continued saying that the whole self-sacrificing notion that we put to women in the society. So I would just say it has, of course, it has everything to do with the social conditioning, and the patriarchy is there to blame, like in everyone's opinion. But if we look into the deeper essence of the problem, is that money symbolizes power in societies such as Bangladesh, where we are poverty stricken and where we associate money with purchasing ability. Money means power, any kind of power, be it political power, be it purchasing power, household power, any kind of power is associated to money in Bangladeshi society. So যখন একজন মহিলাকে বা একজন নারীকে আমরা ওই পাওয়ারটা দিয়ে দিচ্ছি, that totally goes against how the society is structured. মানে আমাদের বাংলাদেশের সোসাইটিতে এইভাবে করে স্ট্রাকচার্ড না। এখন অনেক হয়তো বলতে পারে যে বাংলাদেশের প্রধানমন্ত্রী নারী, বাংলাদেশ হচ্ছে একমাত্র দেশ যেখানে প্রধানমন্ত্রী নারী, সংসদের স্পিকার নারী, বিরোধী দলীয় নেত্রীও নারী। So how come we say that we don't give power to women? I would say in a lot of settings, in a lot of setup, those things are very symbolic to the level that not only we put women in those positions, but also we like to blame women in those positions. And this comes with our inherent nature of trying to blame the vulnerable, trying to blame someone who is less capable. And we always have assumed women to be the vulnerable and less capable because the society has structured as such. And it unfortunately does not only come from men. The conditioning does not only come from men, it also comes from women who are the gatekeeper of patriarchy. You would see a lot of women not in a position of power who feel threatened. So there is this whole research about queen bee syndrome, and I shared it in my Facebook a while ago, that there is this entire research that women in certain industry, in their position of power, they try to do everything in their capability to put obstacle for other women so that they don't climb and go up to that position. So it's the queen bee syndrome that they call it. And that's also in the same situation in football, like the industry that where I work, like women are already facing so many barriers. Women's football is already like decades behind, but still like we still a lot of barriers, even they have to overcome within their system. So I can only say a few things about the self-sacrificing thing, because if we look at our literature, we see that women are symbolized or often given as a metaphorical way of comparison with moon, with things soothing, with things that are very self-sacrificing, giving away their life like a flower, very delicate, very very accommodating. So যখন কেউ ওই জায়গাটা থেকে বের হয়ে আসে, that is breaking the whole way of how women are seen in the society. So এখন আমি বলবো আমি টাকা কামাই, আমার টাকার উপরে আমার অধিকার, আমাদের শরীরের উপরেই আমার অধিকার নাই, আমি কি কাপড় পরবো সেটাও সোসাইটি ডিসাইড করে, আমার টাকার উপরে আমার কি অধিকার থাকবে? হ্যাঁ, সো আমরা এমন একটা সোসাইটি থেকে এই কথাগুলো এক্সপেক্ট করছি, and not just for Bangladesh, it's also for many developed countries out there. And if you see, women do not constitute even half of the parliament seats in the decision making, the highest decision making place of a country. So how can you even expect women to be the decision maker in the household when in the national level they do not even constitute half of the things? More interestingly, আমাদের women parliamentarianদেরকে অনেক কান্ট্রিতে আনা হয় কোটা বেসিসে, সংরক্ষিত কোটা রাখা হয়, আসন রাখা হয়। কেন? ওমেনরা কি নিজেদের আমাদের নাই, ক্যাপাবিলিটি নাই, আমরা কি কোনো দিক দিয়ে মানে পারবো না, এরকম কোথায় লেখা আছে? মানে মেল কোটা বলে তো কোনো কিছু নাই, তাহলে ফিমেল কোটা কেন থাকবে? সো এরকম অনেকগুলো জিনিস আছে। আর লাস্টলি আমি বলবো যে ওই যে সেলফ স্যাক্রিফাইসিং জিনিসটা যুগ যুগ ধরে আমাদের মায়েরা করে আসছে। এখনো যখন আমরা টিভি অ্যাডভার্টাইজমেন্ট দেখি, তখন দেখা যাবে একজন মা অনেক কষ্ট করে রুটি বানাচ্ছে, এটা করছে ওটা করছে, তখন মা মানে একটা মা ফিগার মানে হচ্ছে ইউ হ্যাভ টু বি সেলফ স্যাক্রিফাইসিং। সো বলেন যে না, নারী হচ্ছে মায়ের জাতি, মা হতে হলে কি হতে হয়? অনেক স্যাক্রিফাইস করতে হয়। কারণ দ্য হোল পয়েন্ট যে আমরা 10 মাস 10 দিন গর্ভে ধারণ করব, আমরা খুব স্যাক্রিফাইস করব। সো আওয়ার নেচার inherently, even with money, has to be sacrificing, and there is no other way. And then there are global icons like Mother Teresa, Florence Nightingale, who has spent their entire life for humanity. টাকা পয়সার কথা চিন্তা করে না, কোনো কিছু কথা চিন্তা করে না। সো যখনই কোনো একটা মেয়ে ওই জায়গাটা থেকে একটু ডিফারেন্টলি বলে বা অ্যাপিয়ার করে, তখন the society bashes in every possible way, be it in their own house, be it all around. It's just breaking the norms. It's more like a taboo. So yeah, I mean, I'll just end with that.
Thank you so much for sharing. তুমি যেগুলো বলো, I cannot deny with any of that. Those are some important facts, and I hope যে যারা শুনছে বা যারা শুনবে পরে, they would be able to pick out the key points and able to মানে take in and sip in these important points in their life and understand যে কেন আমি যা করছি এভাবে. This is my rights, especially the female out there, and especially also the male people out there, যে শুধু যে আমি আমার ওয়াইফকে হেল্প করি বাসার মধ্যে, হেল্প করার কি আছে বাবা? it's your family too, it's your সংসার too. আমি আমার ওয়াইফকে কাজ করতে দিচ্ছি, কাজ করতে দেওয়ার ক্ষেত্রে she is an absolute independent person, she can do it herself, she can take her own decision. তুমি করতে দেওয়ার, like তোমার অধীনে, তোমার under your slavery, and that person is, you're giving that person the permission to go out there, be herself. That's an incredible thing you are doing in your life. That's absolutely wrong. You're not doing that. Let that person be herself, respect herself for being herself. treat her like a independent individual first. তারপরে সে না আসবে, তুমি তোমার বাসায় হেল্প করছো না, তুমি তোমার ওয়াইফ তো বলছে না আমি আমার বাসায় হেল্প করছি, আমি আমার বাসার কাজ করছি, তুমিও তোমার বাসার কাজ করছো। সো থ্যাংক ইউ সো মাচ ফাইজা আপু, ফামি আপু, আমি তোমাকে অনেকগুলো নামে ডাকি, সো গেট কনফিউজ। সো lastly, Anand Bhaiya, I know you're teaching right now in University of Sussex economics. I want to hear from you. যে তোমার কাছে কি মনে হয়?
Thank you for having me, and it's good to hear Samira after so long and Famida for the first time properly. So I think what I'm going to say is going to be more of a reflection of what Samira and Faiza said, primarily because I think ওদের জিনিসটা অনেক empathetic. The statements are very empathetic because they've gone through it. I can sympathize, and if I claim that I can empathize, I will be lying. There's no point in saying that. So part of my research is on female empowerment. So while you guys were speaking, I was thinking of various studies that was done in different parts of the world linking to it. And I think the first point is something that you started with, Pooja. The issue of role models. So that reminded me of a study done by, I think it was Emma Riley, who's in Washington, DC right now. So Uganda, she did this experiment, very simple. It's a randomized control trial, which is like, it has critics of its own, but খুবই simple like the trial. Uganda rural village থেকে ও বাচ্চাদেরকে নিয়ে যায় ওদের secondary school examiner ঠিক এক সপ্তাহ আগে থিয়েটারে নিয়ে গিয়ে ওদেরকে একটা মুভি দেখায়, The Queen of Cutbeck. So I don't know whether you guys seen that movie or not. If you guys haven't, do it's a very interesting movie about essentially having a feminine role model. This woman who comes out of a village, gets into a STEM discipline, does really well. Okay, and the entire idea was that দুইটা জিনিস ট্যাকল করা, একটা হচ্ছে যে the number of females in STEM disciplines is not that high. Second is that females can also do it, right? Because এরা কিন্তু একদম গ্রামের স্কুল থেকে নিয়ে আসছে আর ওদের mostly feminine role models নয়. What happened right 1 week after that was that in math exams, female students scored way better than the male students যারা এই মুভিটা দেখছে compared to যারা এই মুভিটা দেখে. There was a placebo group যারা এই মুভি দেখে হচ্ছিল. And I think that's something that we are missing in Bangladesh quite a bit. This randomly একদিন just friendly মাঝখানে conversation হচ্ছিল, and so in terms of feminine empowerment, there are obviously multiple ideological groups. So I'm more in the club of Naila Kabir, Shirin Haq, Tapur, Shahid Sabur. So we tend to think alike in দিক থেকে. One of the questions was simple, like আমাদের students দের মাঝখানে যখন আমি Brack University পড়াতাম, how many of them actually had feminine role models in their family that they could follow growing up or see growing up? If that's not there, how can we substitute that? How can we bring in those role models, even as slow, small nudges that can have an impact? So that's what I was thinking, যখন role model কথাটা আসছে. I think that's something that we can, যেখানে আমরা কাজ করতে পারি. Since we also have a booming film industry over time, if we have movies like this যেটা গ্রামের বাচ্চাদেরকে দেখানো হয় অথবা গ্রামের বাচ্চাদের সাথে আমাদের interaction বাড়ে, especially feminine leaders যারা আছে, I think that can have a genuine impact. So that was the first thought. So I wanted to mention that. The other thoughts that I had was in terms of if we talk about female empowerment, one of the issues that I feel like a lot of the movement in Bangladesh is missing out is integrating the males into it. And the reason I say this is very important, at least according to some of the discussions, is it's twofold. But again, it's tied in with some of the research that I do. So I mean, দুইটা রিসার্চের কথা বলি. So একটা হচ্ছে আমার নিজের রিসার্চের কথা. So ওটা হচ্ছে যে তোমার, so one of the things that I was interested in looking at was that yes, among the দেশের থেকে a lot of males migrate out, leaving their partners behind, who then become household head, or at least pseudo household heads, depending on whether they have their in-laws in the household or not. And this is completely grammar research, so I don't work in urban areas. So what we find is that once that happens, the female decision-making power goes up. Okay, they start earning more money. In a lot of cases, they don't because they're already getting the remittances, but their decision-making autonomy goes up, their financial autonomy goes up. So empowerment can be in different dimensions, of course, right? So But what happens is that my central question was, what happens when the males come back in a patriarchal society? So দেখা যাচ্ছে যে যখন পুরুষরা ফেরত আসছে, depending on which country the males went to, the empowerment drops back down to status quo. But the interesting part was which countries they go to. Okay, so it was if they went to mostly conservative countries, মাঝে মাঝে এরকমও দেখা গিয়েছে, and then for certain subsamples, the woman's empowerment actually doesn't go back to status quo, it drops further down. If the males go to more liberal countries, the females do tend to stay empowered to a certain extent, but not as much as they were during the time when the male went to. Okay, so that establishes a major patriarchy. Arekta example, let me just Mexico take answer. So this is done by Angelucci, who's a famous economist. So she explored Mexico's Progresa program. So Progresa is a social safety net program, which is like massive in Mexico. It's also known as Oportunidades. So ওখানে সে unconditional transfer দেয় মহিলাদের। Okay, so stipend দিচ্ছে ওদেরকে, benefit দিচ্ছে। এখন কথা হচ্ছে তুমি কতটুকু size stipend দিবা, and this is where that study got interesting. দেখা গেছে তুমি যদি small amount of stipend দাও, nothing happens, not much happens in terms of household bargaining power. The household power dynamics doesn't change as much. Okay, কিন্তু মহিলাদের help হচ্ছে because now they have a small amount of money that they can spend every day in whatever they want to do, and they don't have to ask the husbands for the money if they don't earn the money themselves already. Okay, but what happens if you give a large transfer to the females? That's when the household bargaining shifts, and তখন দেখা যাচ্ছে intimate partner violence goes up, domestic violence goes up. And that's where the major problem was, because 2007 এর data set নিয়ে আমরা একটা কাজ করেছিলাম, যখন আমরা দেখেছি যে গ্রামে যখন females autonomy goes up, intimate partner violence also went up. In other words, and this was based in Bangladesh. In other words, যখন femaleদের mobility যখন improve করছে, not other dimensions of autonomy, but mobile autonomy. So তখন intimate partner violence was going up. But the good thing is that we repeated the same exercise using recent data, and we don't see that happening. Okay, so there is a slight shift that's happening. Kintu, if you really want dynamics like that to change, you have to bring these males into the picture. The social norms that you guys were mentioning, bring males into that social norms, make ads, make visual campaigns. They can show that it's completely normal for male people to leave the households where females work. They show campaigns. We don't know how effective they are. Honestly, I don't know, because empirical studies are Bangladeshi made, but we have to think of creative ways where we can induce these social norms or our cultural identities into our country. Otherwise, I don't see the impacts, at least I don't see it happening in my lifetime. And it's an intergenerational thing as well. So I don't think a major changes will happen while I'm still alive, but at least as long as we can make it happen for the next generation, I think that's a big step. Okay, I'm only about to course, I'll stop here. Sorry.
No, you didn't. Thank you so much for sharing that. কেন তুমি যেগুলা বলছো, bringing in all these different pieces and statistics in the picture, it's very important. And the enormity of this problem is যেটা আমি বললাম, the problem is huge, and a problemটা generationally, I just remember the train of thought I was thinking about. যে তুমি যেটা বললা, যে bringing in the male into the picture and male into the dynamics of this problem so that they can also understand. কারণ যেই লোকটা বলছে যে আমি আমার ওয়াইফকে কাজ করতে দিচ্ছি বা আমি আমার বাসায় হেল্প করছি, তাকে হয়তো বা কেউ কোনোদিন বুঝায় বলেই নাই যে you know what, this is not the right way of saying it, or this is not how you should approach this, or this is not how you should think about it. সে হয়তো বা কোনো ফিগার পায় নাই, কারণ সে হয়তো বা জেনারেশনালি ওটা দেখে আসছে, জেনারেশনালি সে ওভাবেই বড় হয়েছে। তো one of the biggest reason for including one male guest in this whole webinar is to have their perception, their perspective. কারণ আমরা মেয়েরা তো জানি প্রবলেমটা কি, আমরা কতক্ষণ বসে বসে এই জিনিসটা নিয়ে কথা বলবো। It's so important having another male person into the table and hearing their perception, hearing their perspective, and also sharing our perspective to them so that they can have a real in-person, real-time experience of it, how we are thinking. Or definitely we talk about it, maybe friend circle, bashaয়, but discussion হওয়াটা and understanding আচ্ছা হয়তো বা ভাইয়া আদনান ভাইয়া হয়তো বা সামিরা আপু ফাইজা আপুর কাছ থেকে অনেক কিছু বুঝতে পারছে শিখতে পারছে definitely আদনান ভাইয়া knows a lot but having this discussion open discussion and এটা যে অন্য অনেকগুলা মানুষ দেখবে অনেক পুরুষ মানুষ দেখবে অনেক মেল মানুষ দেখবে তাদের মধ্যে হয়তো বা কোথাও না কোথাও হয়তো বা ম্যাসিভ না চেঞ্জ আসলেও একটুখানি চেঞ্জ আসতেও পারে তারা হয়তো মনে করতে পারে না পূজাপু বলছে যে আমি কেন বাসায় হেল্প করবো এটা তো আমার ফ্যামিলি আমিও হেল্প করবো আমিও কাজ করবো there is no term as help over here so this is how the changes happen maybe not drastically overnight but slowly gradually চেঞ্জেস গুলো আসছে এবং হয়তো একটা মেয়ে দেখার পরে মেয়েটাও হয়তো বা আজকে মনে করো কারণ আমি যখন এই ওয়ার্কশপ গুলো ডিফারেন্ট জায়গায় করছি ঢাকার communities have much more exposure they know much more than another district level girl আমি যদি রংপুরের কথা বলি বা কুমিল্লার কথা বলি যেমন আমি মাদারীপুরের একটা স্কুল থেকে সবাই আমাদের একটা ট্রেডিশন আছে যে সেশন শেষ হয়ে যাওয়ার পর আমরা সবাই বলি I am bold and becoming strong confident or whatever they are এবং ওই বাচ্চাটা সে 9 কি 10 এ পড়ে সে বলছিল আপু I am bold and becoming a role model so can you imagine how powerful that was and এই মেয়েটা যদি আজকে সে শিখতে পারে বুঝতে পারে হয়তো ওর মতন আরো অনেকগুলো মেয়ে আছে যারা এই ভিডিওটা দেখে হয়তো শিখতে পারবে যে you know what this is your right this is who you are and just because you're a female just because you are born with certain genitals doesn't mean should not stop you from achieving anything and everything you can do it absolutely you can do it and it is your right তোমার decision making right আছে তোমার financial right আছে and you have to speak up for that এই যে courage এর ব্যাপারটা courageটা cultivate করা একটা community build করা যে ফাইজা আপু যে বলছিল যে another woman tends to create obstacles for another woman but এই যে একটা different যদি আমরা এই জিনিসটাকে break down করে এটা যদি বানাতে পারি যে behind every successful woman there should be a tribe of other successful women who have her back there will be changes right actually I admire these two incredible like power packs in front of me right now Faiza Apu and Samira Apu and আমরা যদি সবাইকে back up করি we can create this strong dynamic community and it's the whole economy relies on that second question হচ্ছে it's very interesting আমার কাছে মনে হয় এই কোয়েশ্চেনের আনসারটা থেকে অনেক important জিনিস শেখার আছে tell us about some of your emotional habits that you use to build resilience because resilience is very important and আমি বাংলায় বলছি যে তোমাদের নিজেদের কিছু ইমোশনাল হ্যাবিটের ব্যাপারে বলো যেটা তোমরা পার্সোনালি ইউজ করো বা ইউজ করেছো টু বিল্ড রেজিলিয়েন্স আমি রেজিলিয়েন্সের বাংলাটা এখন ঠিক করে বলতে পারবো না কেউ আমাকে একটুখানি বাংলাটা ট্রান্সলেট করে বলতে পারলে that would be it আমার স্ক্রিনে ফাইজা আপু সবার প্রথমে so I will come to you and start with you tell us about some of your emotional habits which you practice or you have to build your resilience.
So first thing first, I'm a very emotional person. I'm not the best person to give this answer. So pardon me if my answer is not very helpful. আমি just কয়েকটা জিনিস বলবো এখানে emotional resilience there is no one size fits all over here. Different things work for different people. How you regulate your own emotion, how you make your decisions, how you choose what's right and what's wrong for you, that totally depends on you. So I am nowhere over here to tell people what to do and what not to do. Rather, I'm just going to share what worked well for me. So for me, there were a couple of things that I had to unlearn for being raised in South Asian society, more in a Bangladeshi society, that is judging people and making very quick remark like থাকে না যে ফার্স্ট ইমপ্রেশন একটা ক্রিয়েট করে এবং মানুষ ওটা নিয়েই ধরে বসে থাকে হ্যাঁ এই জিনিসটা খুব ডেডলি আমার কাছে মনে হয় যে হয়তো ফার্স্ট ইন্টারাকশনে একটা মানুষের হয়তো তার দিনটা খুব খারাপ ছিল অথবা maybe the person could not appear in the best version of themselves. So I particularly believe that everybody deserves a second chance until they are murderers. So ওই জায়গাটা থেকে I actually try to be more understanding to people and try to see where they're coming from, rather seeing things from my perspective. Because I work in the area of peace building, non-violence, PV and CV issues with Commonwealth, and I have been working as their trainer for 8 years now. I particularly have seen that one common cause of violence in every society or conflict in every society is we think we are right. And because we think we are right, we think the other people are wrong, and everybody else has no clue what, like, they don't understand me. So be it in personal relationship, be it in social relationship, we think, oh, I am saying what I'm saying, but you don't understand what I am saying, because we think what our way is the highway, or we think this is right. So this is very deadly and this is very dangerous. We have to be open towards the idea that other people can also be right and we can also be wrong at times, because we don't know it all. We all are learning and evolving. What I knew 5 years ago and what I know now is a lot different. So we have to be open towards that idea, that I particularly have seen a lot of people do not hold that belief. And I think with things that changes come, a lot of us become self-aware. So being self-awareness, like having self-awareness and being self-aware as a person has helped me a lot to become resilient.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. আমি গত সপ্তাহে ঠিক একই সময় স্যাটারডেতে I was doing this interview with the radio. আমরা এই যে নতুন নতুন জিনিস আসে, নতুন নতুন টেকনোলজি আসে, and we adapt to that. ফোন বলো, যে ল্যাপটপ বলো, বা এখন ট্যাব বলো, whatever it is, বা আইফোনের যে নতুন নতুন জেনারেশন আসছে, and if we don't change our thinking like that, আমরা নতুন নতুন ফ্যাশনের সাথে we adapt to it. আজকে লং কামিজ, কালকে শর্ট কামিজ, কালকে এইটা, কালকে সেটা. But if we don't change, or if we don't have this default setup যে with generation, with time, with experience, you should also change your thinking. You should also accept different things. যদি আমাদের ওই আগের পুরানো সেটআপ নিয়ে আমি বসে থাকি চিন্তা ভাবনার মধ্যে যে না, if you dress like this means you are this.
মানে just to add this, basically Pooja, আমরা তো এখনো Windows 98 চালাই না, do we?
True. Yeah,
we have updated everything, why not ourselves?
So true. So এই যে এই ব্যাপারটা, and being accepting to other people, যে that person might be correct, that person might know better, and being flexible enough to accept that যে there are things I can learn from that person. সবসময় যে খুব strict rigid হয়ে বসে থাকতে হবে যে না, what I have said, that's the correct, that's the Bible, you must, there is nothing else I can follow. That's a very, very deadly and very, very cancerous. I mean, ওই মানুষের জন্য because you cannot learn after that. কারণ তুমি যা মনে করতেছো, that's the set in stones. You're not evolving anymore. So thank you for bringing that part. Adnan Bhaiya, tell us about some of your emotional habits যেটা তুমি use করো to build resilience. Like
I guess I'll just mention it off the top of my head at the first step. So first, I am an introvert, which is a big problem.
But it doesn't look like.
Yes, it doesn't look like that, but genuinely I am an introvert, and I've been trying to come out of that. I'm still struggling with that, but I think it's also kind of linked to the problem of the society males should face everything head on and stuff like that. Those things that are there and not express themselves as much. So I've been trying to express myself more over time.
I love your poems. Sorry to interrupt you. You're expressing part. I love your poems. They're incredibly powerful and beautiful.
Thank you. It's been a long time since I wrote a poem, by the way.
It's so beautiful. Sometimes the way you express art, or the elements of art, or sometimes you bring in auntie, those are truly moving. So thank you for expressing yourself like that. I love that.
Yeah. So,
and now you continue.
I think one of the this was the conversation I was having with my students, Sussex, and one of the things that one of my students said really struck me was, she said that, like, just be a dog. Dogs express themselves, whatever happens, they are অনেক সবসময় হাসি, if they're happy they come running to you, if they're sad they express it properly, and I think that's something that we all need to practice at some point. And this is something that I think Samira does really well. She is really expressive and I really appreciate that about her. So with that said, I think like being yourself and having those conversations, it really matters. কারণ আমরা যত নিজের মধ্যে জিনিসপাতি লুকিয়ে রাখি ওটা জমতে থাকে, আর জমতে থেকে থেকে we think that that's resilience. It's not. It's just মানে আমরা নিজেরা shattering down over time. So having those conversations, I think practicing that consciously is important, especially for people who naturally don't do that. Yeah, I'll get it back to you.
Thank you for sharing that. But আমার কাছে মনে হয় যে মাঝে মাঝে there was this phase in my life that I feel like everybody can relate to it. We have so many people in our friend list. We have so many people in our contacts, but there was at least one point of time in my life, I'm scrolling through contacts after contacts, but I still cannot find a person I can talk to. And I hope people don't feel like that, or it's very important to go out there and share with at least someone, find that someone. There would be definitely so many people who would love to talk to you. So it shouldn't be the case that you're going after, you have so many bunch of friends, you have so many friends in the friend list, Facebook friend list, but you don't have a person to talk to. So consciously find a person to talk to. So Samira, tell us about some of your emotional habits which you use to build your resilience.
I just want to say, scrolling through my contact list and not finding someone I can talk to is a poem. You should write it at some point. I would love to read it. The world would love to read it. You said it, and I was like, yes.
I think I wrote a piece on it and I shared it. It's called The Room. Maybe
The Room? Okay,
yeah.
okay, yeah. Is it on your Instagram? Is it on your socials?
It's not in my social media, but I might. Who knows? I might try to
Or share it with us
But
privately.
Thank you for sharing it.
I mean, that's a very specific human emotion we have even now. I think like it's not that social media has made us more lonely. It just made us realize how lonely we are, in the sense that like we're constantly seeing the contrast of having a lot of people and having no one, right? I talk very openly about mental health because I lived in shame for a really long time and I hid it for a really long time. I was like, I'm not depressed, I'm just being dramatic, which is like a very, very, very real mental health thing. Until I was practicing a lot. I was practicing resilience without knowing I was doing it, right? Like I feel like I talk about this a lot, like especially having lived alone, there was just not an option for me to not get out of bed and not do my dishes after a point. And I'm not undermining anyone who has stayed in bed. Like I'm just saying that it kind of, I think it makes a difference where on that scale you put yourself, right? Because I didn't believe I had depression, or I wasn't told, like I just kept like what I just kept working, because I was just like, but I think one of and I read somewhere that like one of the biggest what's at the core of a lot of mental health issues, especially depression, is shame, right? And kind of piggybacking off of what Adnan said earlier, like shame is so like, why do people bottle things up? It's essentially shame. And I think for men even more so, right? Because being expressive is like quote unquote feminine, or like being weak and blah blah blah. But like I think to me, like being expressive is one of the strongest things I've been able to do. But the funny thing is, I grew up thinking, I was always like, I want to be a strong woman. And for the longest time, I didn't think I was a strong woman because I was emotional, right? Like what Fazia said, Famida? I'll just go with Famida. What Famida said, Agdum Protomi is like, oh, you shouldn't ask me because I'm an emotional person and I'm the wrong person to ask that. You are the exact right person to be asked that question, right? That is you. We want to listen to you. We want to listen to me. Well, we listen to me a lot because I write about my feelings all the time. But I'm just saying, like, a person with feelings, a person who is emotional is who we want to listen to. And also what Adnan said about like building things up and calling it resilience. Yeah, that is not resilience. Resilience, that kind of gave language to what I was going to say, Adnan, is that like resilience is exercising your emotion. It's not bottling it up, right? It's having room for your emotion. It's having room for your grief. When you were introducing the webinar, Pooja, you said, oh, like, do we have a mentor to call and say, Apu, I had a breakup? We never think of professional mentorship with conversations like that. Why not?
কালচারটাই নাই
Bangladesh in general, তুমি যদি চিন্তা করো professional, it's a lot of, I would say capitalist societies. It's like we never have room for grief, which is ridiculous. Like grief is one of the most constant things in our lives, whether it's a grief of a breakup or your dog dying or something like that another person might think was really small, or like a death. Like it doesn't matter. We're constantly dealing with grief, and like to be able to show that compassion as a mentor, like I would never imagine telling when I'm at a bolte onek shomoy lagto. I think I'm able to be like, especially, if it's a story that I'm doing that's really rough, like, and thanks to my editors who are really kind, who I can be like, I can't do this today. It's just too much for me. And to be able to say that and not feel like I'm weak, not feel like I'm giving up my professional integrity or whatever that it is so much power. But like we've traditionally not given room to that, right? So I say my emotional habit is just going all out. And the other thing being, like talking about being expressive, you don't have to be expressive money to it, you have to do it publicly. Be expressive to 3 people in your life, but be expressive. You know what I mean? Like negotiate that boundary for yourself. But I really love what all of you shared. It was so good.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Apu. Thank you so much, everyone. সবার ইমোশনাল হ্যাবিট গুলো শেয়ার করার জন্য, বিকজ এই যে তোমাদেরকে হয়তো বা অনেক ছোট ছোট মেয়েরা দেখবে, এই যে ওদেরকে কেউ বলা, যে তুমি শুরু করলে না সামিরা আপু, যে অনেকে হয়তো বা জানেই না যে কোনটা রং, বা অনেকে হয়তো বা জানে না যে there are something called emotional habits. এই যে অভ্যাসগুলো তুমি নিজের ভিতরে বিল্ড আপ করতে পারো টু হ্যান্ডেল দিস সিচুয়েশন, টু কোপ আপ উইথ দিস সিচুয়েশন। মন খারাপ লাগলে এটা করা যায়। তুমি মন খারাপ লাগলে ওনার আপুর সাথে কথা বলতে পারো। মন খারাপ লাগলে হয়তো বা আজকের দিনটা পড়ার দরকার নাই, ইটস ওকে, ফোকাস অন ইউর ইমোশনস, লেটস ফিল বেটার। One of my first workshop হচ্ছে understanding or creating a value system. এখন ভ্যালুজ এর মধ্যে অনেকে অনেক কিছু লেখে, কিন্তু the first basic value বা আমার কাছে values হচ্ছে the most important things in your life, right? Nobody, খুব কম মানুষই ছিল যারা তাদের হ্যাপিনেসটাকে the top priority লিস্টে রাখছে, যে I need to be happy, that's the most important thing in my life. কারণ তুমি চিন্তা করো, আমি যদি মেন্টালি if I'm not well, if I'm not sound, how am I going to function physically? আমার মেজাজটা যদি খারাপ থাকে, আমি আশেপাশে কারোর সাথে তো I'm not going to be my best version, I'm not going to be giving out my best version, আমি কথাই বলতে পারবো না ঠিক করে তোমার সাথে। So if I don't take care of my mental health, if I don't take care of my happiness, there was some point in my life when the ultimate goal of every individual day was just to be happy. That's it, just be happy. Start your day by thinking, I want to be happy. That's it. And I will do every little things which make me happy. Okay. So next question. What has been your hardest failure? Not greatest failure. There is nothing called greatest failure. Amar kache mone hoy. Hardest failure. And what were your coping mechanisms to overcome that? Similar to that, emotional habits, resilience will করার জন্য, but আমি চাই যে তোমরা যে কোনো একটা incident share করো এবং how have you cope up with that? Who should I start with? I don't know. It's I don't know. You can go first, okay? Because তুমি আমার স্ক্রিনের পাশে তুমি, so you can go.
You guys can take some time to think. For me, so আমি ঢাকা বোর্ডে ফার্স্ট হয়েছিলাম এইচএসসি তে। হ্যাঁ, আমি সায়েন্স, এসএসসি সায়েন্স থেকে এইচএসসি আর্টস থেকে মানবিক বিভাগে গিয়েছিলাম। সো এভরিওয়ান ওয়াজ লাইক, ওয়াই একটা মানুষ সায়েন্স থেকে পড়ে আবার আর্টসে যাবে? তুমি তো, বিকজ আই অলওয়েজ নিউ দ্যাট আই এম গোনা be a barrister someday. And মানে ছোট থাকতে অনেক বেশি কথা বলতাম। বাবা মা বলতো যে you are gonna be a great lawyer, and my dad is an advocate in Dhaka bar. So I used to think যে হ্যাঁ আচ্ছা আমি তো লয়ারই হব, এবং যেন তেন লয়ার না, আমি ব্যারিস্টার হব। So আমার চোদ্দ গোষ্ঠীতে কোনো কেউ ব্যারিস্টার নাই, so I didn't have a mentor. That you just say that having a mentor in your life is very important. I didn't have any mentor. I knew যে আমি ব্যারিস্টার হব, so SSC পড়ছি, HSC পড়ছি, ওই গোল্ডেন 5 এর টাইমের আরো মানে ওই টাইমটাতে ছিলাম, বাট HSC তে I stood first in Dhaka board. So you can imagine আর্টস থেকে মানে আমাদের কোনো প্র্যাকটিক্যাল বলতে ওরকম কিছু ছিল না। সায়েন্সে যেরকম প্র্যাকটিক্যাল মার্কস 25 মার্কস মানে অ্যাড হয়ে যায় ইজি ওয়েতে, আর্টসে আমাদের ফুল রিটেন ছিল। So I was the only person in Ideal School and College, which was my college. I was the only person who got a golden GPA 5 in HSC from arts section. So and then I saw that okay, I became first in Dhaka board and মানে অনেক একটা হইচই ব্যাপার, and then I didn't give any admission test exam because আমি তো জানি আমি ব্যারিস্টার হব, তো আমি গেছি ব্রিটিশ ল সাইডে, and আমি পড়ালেখা করতে গিয়ে ফার্স্ট ইয়ারে out of 4 subjects I failed in 3. Second year out of 4 subjects I failed in 2. So আমি retake a receipt দিতে দিতে everyone the kind of celebration I had around me. So I used to be a sports champion, I used to be a school prefect, I used to win like everything. The name Faiza means winner. So you can imagine my parents, like when they gave me birth, the expectation was high on me. I am supposed to be a winner because I'm born winner. So এখন কথা হচ্ছে যে যখন failure আসলো, that was the first time in law school I experienced failure, but that was not the hardest because I was doing মানে you met me that time Pooja, like I'm doing MUNs and everything. আমাকে দেখে কেউ বলবে না আমি 4 সাবজেক্টের মধ্যে 3 সাবজেক্টে ফেল করে রিটেক খেয়ে আমি প্যারা খাচ্ছি, হ্যাঁ আমাকে দেখে কেউ বলবে না। But then what happened is that when I went for my bar in UK, that was in Bristol, I stayed there for a year, and that has ruined me. Why do I say that in every possible way? Because I not just face racism or the systematic biases and everything. I'm not going to go for that, but it ruined my confidence. And literally my confidence is all that I have. And doing a bar school with all those Oxbridge graduates and sons and daughters of law lords who are like, you know, pro in all of this stuff. মানে আমার ক্লাসে যখন ঢুকতাম আমার মানে সকালবেলা উঠে ক্লাসে যেতে ইচ্ছা করতো না। আমার মনে হতো I'm the dumbest person in the room, and that eventually reflected on my performance as well. So teacherra would often go for like you were good, but বলার পরে যা বলবে ওইটা শোনার থেকে মরে যাওয়া ভালো। হ্যাঁ, তো ওই জিনিসটা শুনে মানে একদিন দুই দিন শুনতে শুনতে it grows inside you, and then you start having self-doubt, and that self-doubt ruins your confidence. So I, as an official government youth representative of Bangladesh, I represent Bangladeshi youth in 23 countries, and I have been with all of these, like from Angela Merkel to Justin Trudeau to all of these world leaders. I have met, I have talked, I have had wonderful conversations and great memories. Even last month I even won at the debate against the youth and sports ministers of Rwanda. So I am talking about being in a place where I used to be so like appreciated, honored, and I'm like, I'm to onek jos. And then from there straight up to the pit hole where you question your existence, like who am I? So I'll just summarize it. So 1 year course, jeta basically 11 months একটা course, যেটা মানুষ বার at law করতে যায়, সেটা আমার 3 বছর লেগেছে শেষ করতে। And a lot of people takes মানে বলতে চায় না কথাটা, কারণ people feel ashamed যে হ্যাঁ, and I'm very glad that you talked about the failure side, কারণ আমরা success story সব TEDx এ দেখতে পাই, so failure নিয়ে কথা বলাটা খুব important. So it took me 3 years, and within that COVID happened, lot of things changed and all of that, and I went into severe depression and anxiety because literally this is the only thing my parents have ever asked from me, je ma tu barrister ho. That is the only thing that they wanted from me, and I felt like a failure because I was letting my parents down for the first time in my life. So that has hit me hard. If it was my own money, I was doing my bar, I would just quit. I would be like eto para nite parbo na, amar mental health ekdom ruined hoye jacche, thank you. But it's parents' money, I cannot even just go like that because I know how hard they work to earn that money. So that took a huge toll on me. I was in depression, anxiety. I was in eating disorder. I was 48 kilo. Now I'm 68 kilos, successfully gained 20 kilos in the process. But a lot of good things happen because now I think nothing can break me. Like now I'm finally a barrister, by the way. So nothing can break me. I feel invincible. And I feel like if that could not break me, nothing will. So yeah, I mean, the coping mechanisms were not very healthy at times, but made it eventually.
Thank you. Thank you. And we're proud of you the way you made it. That made you the you. Thank you so much. With that, Samira Apu, তুমি যদি তোমার hardest failure বলো and what are some of your coping mechanisms in order to overcome that? Or how did you cope that?
Can I say two?
Sure.
Is that okay?
Sure,
Okay.
sure.
তুমি যখন প্রশ্নটা এখন আমি বাংলায় বলবো। তুমি যখন প্রশ্নটা জিজ্ঞেস করছো I was like I don't know কি বলবো তারপর আমি চিন্তা করতে করতে দুইটা বেরিয়েছে that I would consider hardest. One is যখন আমি আমার হাই স্কুলের জন্য like grade 11 or 12 I went to United World College, which is a global network of high schools around the world. It's very prestigious. আমার অনেক স্বপ্নের স্কুল ছিল যাওয়ার এবং এটা primarily scholarship based, so it was a big deal. আমি যখন গেছি কিন্তু আমার O level result ওই যে ফামিদা বললো না আমি তো জোস, oh my god, I loved it that you said that, but I had that confidence like আমি তো জোস. I went to a small school, আমাকে অনেক পাত্তা দিত হেন তেন, you know, I was like one of the students who was gonna make it and everything, but the primary O level result আমি 5টা A আর 3টা C পাইছি. আমার বাপ মা forgot about the A's the entire time. 3টা C নিয়ে they were just like how did you do this? And you know, not to mention anything, মানে এর আগে আমি যা করছি, আমি যখন এক বছর আগে আমি O level আর্ট দিছি, আমি দুপুর স্কুল থেকে এসে 3টা থেকে রাত 10টা পর্যন্ত আর্ট স্কুলে যেতাম, and I did that till May. তারপর মে থেকে মানে মেতে এক্সাম দিয়ে জুন পর্যন্ত আমার ফাইনাল এক্সাম আগে পর্যন্ত আমি এভরিডে জাস্ট 4টা থেকে 10টা স্কুলে পড়তাম, all of that. But আমি O level এসে কেমনে 3টা C পাইছি, it was the biggest thing in the world. So আমার পুরা confidence was shaken. I was just like আমি এটা কিভাবে করতে পারলাম হ্যান ত্যান. So আমি যখন when I went to this school which is full of A+ students from all these other countries, আমি অনেক হাবুডুবু হয়েছে, আমার অনেক প্রবলেম হয়েছে. আমি অনেকদিন ফিজিক্সে চালিয়ে যাচ্ছিলাম because I really wanted to be an engineer, but আমি তো math is not my thing. So I'm just like I was শেষ পর্যন্ত অনেক করে high five, right? I was like it's not, I mean math is actually my thing. I loved math, but physics is not, like it just did not happen. I mean অনেক চেষ্টা করে anyway. তো তারপর আমি হাই স্কুলও অনেক কষ্ট করে পার করছি, ইভেন আমার মানে I didn't get the grades I wanted, মানে খুব টেনে টুনে পাস যেটা আমরা বলতাম. So আমি যখন কলেজে গেছি, so at this point it had been 2 years of like just really low confidence, really low, like the fall is just so bad, right? When you are like brought up to be all that and then you just drop. So I remember college যাওয়ার ওই সামারটা I told myself যে এই 2 বছর এই যে আমি যে ফিজিক্সে এতদিন ট্রাই করছি, it was because I was in denial. I didn't want to face a lot of things that were being said to me. So I made a very big decision যে আমি কখনো আর ডিনায়ালে থাকবো না লাইফে, মানে কোনো কিছু I will be open, যে একটা মানে I will be honest to myself. I have no idea how or why as a 19-year-old I did that. That feels like at 19 you should be doing dumb things, like that feels really emo. But I was like no আমি এটা করবো, মানে and that really changed, মানে not just work wise, as a person it really changed who I am. আমার ফ্যামিলির সাথে আমার প্যারেন্টসের সাথে I became very close with them because we were communicating. And আমার মা, I think the first time she's মানে আমাদের একটা ঝগড়া হয়েছে and I was like okay you're right, she was just like what? I was like okay আমি বুঝলাম তুমি এটা কোত্থেকে এই জায়গাটা বললাম. She was like she did not know how to deal with that. She was like I'm not used to this. But I think that's been a very big change in my life. Our second time যেটা বলবো, আমি যখন গ্র্যাড স্কুলে গেলাম, তো আমি ইউনিভার্সিটি থেকে দেশে এসে 4 বছর কাজ করে I was again on my I was like অনেক কিছু পারবো লাইফে. তারপর আমি জার্নালিজম স্কুলে গেছি, আমার স্বপ্নের জার্নালিজম স্কুল. But New York is New York. It has hard. Magic. New York is not cute, especially if you have no bases there. So আমি যখন grad school থেকে বের হয়ে I did really well in grad school, but একটা international student এর জন্য আমি you know আমি যখন you get 1 year of OPT, so আমি যখন আমি internship করতাম কিন্তু চাকরি পাচ্ছিলাম না, and তখন I started freelancing because when I had an internship at the Times, which was again dream internship, but it wasn't going to go, like they were very clear my internship and I felt like I had to restart my career because America ke tomar Dhakar bylines will not work, like it's just not, you know, it's like I had to start from scratch. I had to আমার মনে আছে আমি like আমি একটা জাপানিজ রেস্টুরেন্টে চাকরি নিছি আমাদের পাড়ায়, আমার নেইবারহুডে। সো আমি ওখানে দুপুর 2টা থেকে রাত 10টা 11টা পর্যন্ত কাজ করতাম, আর সকালবেলা উঠে সকাল 9টা থেকে 12টা পর্যন্ত job applications আর pitches. I would send in my pitches, and রাতেবেলা রেস্টুরেন্টে, and I was so low on money, রাতেবেলা রেস্টুরেন্টে টিপের যে টাকাটা থাকতো ওই টাকাটাতে আমি কফি হাউসে বসে কফি কিনতাম, and I would apply to all these jobs and pitches. And I think that was a very difficult time কারণ আমার দেয়ালে পিঠে গেছে, আমার মনে হতো যে মানে আমি এত কিছু মানে I thought I'd done enough in life to deserve better, মানে to have I thought I'd earned better, but ওইখানের মতো একটা জায়গায় to kind of মানে কি বলবো ওখানে এত মানুষ, everyone's trying so hard, it was very difficult. আমি একটা ছোট্ট একটা ঘরে থাকতাম, আল্লাহ ওই ঘরে কোনো আলো ছিল না। Thank God I didn't realize at that point that I had depression. এটা মনে হয় জানলে আমি আরো বাঁচে থাকতাম, তখন জানতাম না, ভাবতাম আমার মাথায় সমস্যা নাই, so I went with it. But I think my coping mechanism was যে আমি just ছাড়ি নাই, and I know it's very easy to say যে I didn't give up, and my actually ulta আমি realize করছি যে I gave up a lot, মানে I gave myself the room to give up. আমি আজকে আর পারতেছি না, so আমি আজকে আর কালকে I just gave up, আমি just ছেড়ে দিয়েছি, I stopped trying, and then I came back. And the reason I say that is because I think when we keep saying don't give up, the idea is don't give up for a second, and that's not how it works. You have to give up for a day, you have to give up for 2 weeks if you want to, and if you can afford to much, you have to give up so that you can get the energy to come back up again, right? And that was my way of dealing with it, where I was like ami ajke I can't hold out hope for today, so I'm just going to give up on hope today, and I'll wake up next morning or something like that. Yeah, that was crazy.
Cool,
Yeah.
cool. Thank you.
I'll just add one thing to what Samira
Sure,
just said. I
sure.
think এই যে taking one day at a time and এই যে don't give up, এই জিনিসটা, এটা যে কি ইম্পর্টেন্ট একটা জিনিস, যে বার্ন আউট হয়ে যাচ্ছে আমরা নিজেরাও বুঝতেছি না যে কখন বার্ন আউট হয়ে যাচ্ছি, বিকজ উই হ্যাভ দ্যাট গিল্ট যে ও আমি এটা করলাম না, বা ও মানে I didn't finish it and all of that stuff. I mean, just last night I was managing this whole FIFA World Cup trophy tour that happened in Dhaka, and the Coke Studio concert that all happened and everything. So I was doing the FIFA side of PR and comms, and the report is still due as we speak here. I'm supposed to be writing the report now, but I made time for this.
Thank you so much.
The thing is, last night I was up till 3 a.m. and এখনো আমি ঘরের টি-শার্ট পরে আছি, but the whole point is I gave up at one point, আজকে আর আমাকে দেওয়া হবে না, এখন আমাকে যতই প্রেশার দেওয়া হোক না কেন আমার মাথা থেকে কোনো কিছু এখন বের হবে না, আমি এখন ঘুমাবো। তারপর সকাল টেনশনের চোটে সকাল 5টায় আবার ঘুম ভেঙে গেছে, আমি সব ফোন টোন অফ করে, কারণ আমি জানি যে ফোন যদি অন রাখি আমি ফোনের দিকে তাকাবো কয়টা বাজে, প্যারানয়াতে আমি ফোন অফ করে বসে আজকে আমি ঘুমাবো, যতক্ষণ আমার ভালো লাগে আমি ঘুমাবো। আমি 11টার সময় উঠছি, and then I'm like, okay, yeah, I feel much better now and I'm gonna finish this report thing. But yeah, I think it's also important to know when to give up and how to cope up with this whole burnout thing, because we tend to do a lot of expectation of like this pressure of expectation on us. I think আমাদের নিজেদের থেকে নিজেদের expectations অনেক বেশি।
Sure, absolutely. তোমরা আমাকে কেউ জিজ্ঞেস করো না, but I'll share my answer. I can relate to Samira in so many levels because I have been an international student here. It's been almost 8 years. The August 8 years have I have been living in USA. I finished my bachelor's and master's. I'm a certified public accountant here. I'm a CPA. So, but before all that, before putting that CPA behind my name, তুমি যে বললা যে তুমি একটা ছোট্ট রুমে থাকতা, so I have been living in this place. It's close to my Adelphi University. It's close to my school. Like it's near 5 to 6 minutes. So আমার landlord is a hoarder. Like আমার বাসাটার মধ্যে যদি কেউ আসে, nobody would ever rent this place. But I was in such condition in my life at that point of time যে I had to take this room as rent. And আমি যখন ফার্স্ট এই বাসাটায় আসি আর যখন আমার ফার্স্ট তখন ওরকম একটা লাইফের কন্ডিশন যে এনিথিং এন্ড এভরিথিং আই এম রেডি টু ডু দ্যাট, লাইক আমাকে যদি রাস্তায়ও থাকতে হয় দ্যাটস ইট, আমি I am so much dedicated for this goal যে আমার কোনো ওয়ে স্কোপ নাই to get back and to go back and to look back. I am ready to do this. So I came to this place and আমার $700 paycheck ছিল কারণ as an international student you only get to work in school in the campus. So আমি ডেকেরে কাজ করতাম আমার স্কুলের অন ক্যাম্পাসে। সো আই টু আমার এমন ভাবে ছিল যে আমি এমন একটা বাসা নিতে হবে যে $700 এর মধ্যে। সো আমার $700 এর paycheck নিয়ে I remember when I moved to this house I had this only single room, একটা দুটা window and no heater, no mattress, nothing. আমি আমার যতগুলো সোয়েটার আছে সব জড়ায় তারপর ঘুমাচ্ছি ওখানে। And I was going through such a struggle, মানে depression in my life at that point of time. কিন্তু I was not having the capacity just to take a day off for myself. Because I knew I had to go tomorrow in order to earn that money so that I can feed myself, I can put that shelter above my head. And আমার যখন পেচেকটা আসতো $700 মধ্যে $600 আমাকে দিয়ে দিতে হতো আমার ল্যান্ডলর্ডকে, আর যে $100 থাকতো এটার মধ্যে থেকে মনে করো $70 দিয়ে I had to buy my groceries and $30 আমার পকেট মানি। আমি কোথাও যেতাম না, কারোর সাথে কথা বলতাম না, হেঁটে হেঁটে স্কুলে যেতাম বা সাপ্লিনে স্কুলে যেতাম। That used to be my life. And that one of the hardest failure was that, but to overcome that I would say now my room looks brilliant and beautiful. I still live in the same place, but এটা আমার room না, এটা আমার আলাদা studio. But coming from that আমি যেটা করতাম to overcome that, I used to go out and ask for people, how do you overcome your own sadness or your own depression? I mean, my friend that জিজ্ঞেস করতাম what do you do when you feel like that? Because being an international student, তারপরে যখন graduation শেষ হয়ে যাওয়ার পরে OPT নিয়ে এই যে একটা rush to find a job. And our last semester was beautiful. I was celebrated. I got so many awards and everything. And আমি জানি যে আমি 3টা job পাবো, আমি একদিনে 3টা rejection পাই। আমার লিমিটেশনস অনেক, 4টা বিগ 4 অ্যাকাউন্টিং ফার্ম, এর মধ্যে থেকে তোমাকে 2টা স্পন্সর করে H1B। আমি জানতাম না, যে 3টার সাথে আমার নেটওয়ার্কিং ছিল, they came to me. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna get the job. They came to me, they're celebrating me. At the same day আমার মনে হচ্ছে একটা বাচ্চাকে বেবিসিট করছিলাম, তখন they called me যে পূজা তুমি তোমার অ্যাপ্লিকেশনে লিখছো you need H1B, is that by mistake or you need sponsorship, is that by mistake? I'm saying nah, I really need it. Oh sorry, we cannot continue with you. Second, it was from this fifth accounting firm, Grant Thornton, I can name them, I don't work for them, and তারা আমাকে ফোন করে বলছে, oh you got the opportunity, আমরা তোমাকে সবকিছু পাঠাবো and everything, এক সপ্তাহ পরে within this week তুমি সাইন করে পাঠাই দিও। I was like, yeah, beautiful, মানে awesome, something is set. Within like 5 or 6 days they called me and said, oh we realize you're an international student, sorry we cannot move forward with you. And the other part was KPMG. They were like, oh, we're sorry, PwC, KPMG, so all the places, all rejections. And I know, আমি সারা রাত ধরে কান্না করতেছি. My friend took me to see this movie. I mean, movie দেখতেছি কান্না করতেছি. And well, 2 of my friends told me very beautifully, cry, you have to express yourself, cry it out, you have to cry. And I'm crying, and আমি রাত 2টা-3টার সময় আমি নিজেকে লিখতেছি, you know what, the higher your dreams, the bigger your dreams are, the bigger should be the downfalls, and you have to be ready for that. And as long as you're moving, this journey is not over. You should not be stagnant. That's the main focus. Something good things are coming ahead. Good things are, আমি continuously সেদিনকার পর থেকে নিজেকে বলতাম good things are coming. আমার মনে হচ্ছে অক্টোবরের 1 তারিখ হবে, and I don't know, এটা আমার ভিতরে একটা মন্ত্রের মতো কাজ করতে, good things are coming ahead, this cannot be me, this cannot be happening. And October 30 তারিখে PwC থেকে আমাকে একটা কল দেয়, PricewaterhouseCoopers থেকে, and they tell me okay, do you want to do this internship in tax and real estate? I'm like, yeah, absolutely, but do you know that I'm an international student? So we'll say, well, yeah, we know that, we won't be sponsoring you, but you can do this internship. I'm like, yeah, absolutely, whatever comes in my way, I'm gonna do it. So I can relate to the international phase, international student phase. Although I'm in H1B visa right now, working for Ernst & Young as an auditor, but still, we যে একটা there is no straight cut security. I'm still afloat. I don't know where I'm gonna go. But 5 বছর আগে হলে things would have been much more nerving for me. But for now, I know I would figure it out. Definitely. Whatever happens. I don't know what's gonna happen, but I will figure it out. So that's the 5 years of experience, and that's the coping mechanism. And I know it's okay to cry. আমার কান্না আসবে। আমি জানি যে আমি কান্না করতে পারতেছি না। আমি কাজের মাঝখান দিয়ে যে বাথরুমে যে কান্না করতাম। যে I have to cry. I need to, because I'm feeling all these emotions. I need to express it. So thank you যে আমাকে share করতে দিস, although I take the floor from all of you and shared mine, but I truly relate to Samira on that. So last দুটা question, 4 number question টা আমার কাছে মনে হয় যে এই কোয়েশ্চেনটার একটা পার্ট একটা আপু আমার সাথে শেয়ার করছিল, তাই তোমাদেরকে আমি বলি যে what are some best practices to deal with culture based gender biases or norms in an office environment in context to Bangladesh? মনে করো for example, কেউ যদি তোমাকে বলে a female employee was jokingly dismissed and denied by a male superior when asked for a raise. Instead মনে করো সেই মহিলাটাকে বা সেই মেয়েটাকে বলা হয়েছে তোমাকে তো বিয়ে দিয়ে ফেলছি, তোমার এত চিন্তা কিসের, ভাই আর বেতন বাড়লেই হয়েছে। This is absolutely real life example. একটা আপু আমাকে বলছে, আমি তোমাদেরকে বলছি। অথবা যেটা সচরাচর আমি এখন অনেক শুনি যে এত পড়ে কি হবে, বেশি শিক্ষিত হলে বিয়ে হবে না। এই যে এই টেন্ডেন্সি গুলা, এগুলা আমরা মনে করি যে দিস ইজ ভেরি নর্মাল, বাট কালচারালি ইটস জেন্ডার বেসড। কিন্তু আমাদের যে কথাবার্তা গুলো চলে আসে যে তোমাকে তো বিয়ে দিয়ে ফেলছে, বা তুমি এখন তোমার বেতন বাড়ায় কি লাভ হবে, ইউ হ্যাভ সামবডি টেকিং কেয়ার অফ ইউ, তোমার এত পড়ে কি লাভ হবে, তোমার এত পড়লে তো তোমাকে বিয়ে দিতে পারবো না। অ্যাজ ইফ লাইক আমার পড়াশোনা করাটা is a big sin I'm doing. এই যে আমরা কথাগুলো বলি, আমরা বুঝি না যে এগুলাই কিন্তু কালচার বেসড জেন্ডার বায়াসেস। এই যে আমাদের কথার মধ্যে থেকে বের হয়ে আসে। একটা ছেলেকে তো তুমি বলছো না এই কথাটা, একটা ছেলেকে তো বলছো না বেতন বাড়ানোর সময় যে আপনার বউয়ের তো বেতন বাড়ায় ফেলছি, আপনার বেতন বাড়ায় লাভ কি হবে। আবার ছেলেকে তো বলছে না এত পড়াশোনা করে কি লাভ হবে, তোর জন্য বউ পাবো না। যত তুই পড়াশোনা করবি তোর জন্য ভালো মেয়ে ওয়েট করতেছে, তুই ভালো মেয়ে বিয়ে করতে পারবি। বাট একটা মেয়ে পড়াশোনা করে ফেললে, একটা মেয়ে পিএইচডি নিয়ে আসলে, ও মাই গড, ইটস গোনা বি ভেরি হার্ড ফর হার টু গেট দ্য গ্রুম। ওয়াই ইজ দ্যাট? তোমাদের কাছে কি মনে হয় তখন তুমি what are some best practices to deal with certain situations, especially in an office setup, যখন হঠাৎ করে জোকিংলি মানে এমন ভাবে বলতেছে যে না তুমি তখন কিছু বলতে পারতেছো না, কোনো কিছু করার থাকে। Who would like to answer this first? I don't want to go to Faiza. Faiza খালি start করতেছে। I don't know who should I start with. Anand bhaiya, তুমি বলো। I should start with you, having a male perception at the beginning. Ouch.
Speak out, be the black sheep. At least যখন তুমি বিয়ের কথাটা বলতেছো, because a lot of my cousins are going through the same thing, and that's the same advice that I give them, like be the black sheep, speak out. But other than that, in an office context, I think
না অফিস কনটেক্সটে বলতে হবে তা না, তুমি তোমার এক্সাম্পল যেভাবে বলো। আমি খালি অফিস কনটেক্সটটা তুলে ধরলাম যে এরকম হয়তো কেউ সামনে যে বললো বেতন বাড়ানোর কথা, তখন এরকম কথাটা আসে।
But office context, so I think it's very similar. Like I think first of all, setting that office space, what are the governing principles of that culture, of that environment, is a good idea, and that's easier to do in offices than in families, especially families like because there are a lot of different dynamics. But office khetre, it's a little easier to set that, as in at least just lekha daw. But enforcing that compliance is a whole different ballgame, right? Because a lot of my female friends, they're often bolam, and for some reason majority of them jaresh amake bole they always work in bank. I don't know why, but that's something that I've been hearing frequently a lot. So I think the first thing is, once you establish that, as long as other people know this, often if you speak out, the other person can't say anything. So at least sort of other people will come to your support. That's why setting that initial rules of culture is so important. Speak out, no one might come and help you. Something that we see happening, at least public transportation issues. Okay, so we initial culture to offices set kora is possible. At least I know that some offices are doing this, and this at least our sorry, there is আমার আশেপাশে অনেক পুলিশ আর অ্যাম্বুলেন্স যেতে থাকে কন্টিনিউয়াসলি, দিস ইজ ব্রাইটন। সো সো এখানে অ্যাটলিস্ট বাংলাদেশের অনেক ফ্রেন্ডরা যারা বলছে যে issues like this happen and what they did in cases like that, and the most frequently that I hear is that if they speak out and if the office has a culture or propagates a culture like that, people do come forward, which is obviously a good thing. But then of course you have to speak up, and then sometimes আমরা নিজেরাই বুঝি না when should we speak out or when there is a bias because it's so ingrained in our culture, and that's something I think with a discussion is truth আসতে হবে। যেমন খুবই silly একটা example দিই, but at the end of the day if you have these conversations or if you have people like that around you, it all really helps। যেমন আমার এক ফ্রেন্ডের বাসায়, কলিগের বাসায়, so he also teaches at Sussex, আমরা সবাইকে he moved houses, we're helping him fixes sofa from IKEA. Okay, so আমরা জয়েন করছি ওখানে, আমরা 3 জন ছেলে 2 জন মেয়ে। ও যখন সোফাটা ফিক্স করতে গেল তখন কিন্তু 2 জন ছেলেকে ডাকে, 2 জন মেয়েকে কিন্তু ডাকে। সো আমরা কিন্তু ইমপ্লিসিটলি মেন্টালির মধ্যে যে হ্যাঁ ফাইন ইটস আ ব্রন টাস্ক, ছেলেরা গিয়ে কাজ করতেছে। শেষ করার পরে যখন আমরা কম্পাইল করছি তারপর আমাদের মাথায় চিন্তা আসছে আচ্ছা আমরা ও কেন মেয়েদেরকে ডাকে না, ও যখন ডাকে না আমরা কেন ডাকি না? বিকজ one of my colleagues, she used to work in IKEA, so she knew that shit way better than any of us. Okay, how to compile that thing. তারপরে গিয়ে তো তারপর তো ওটা নিয়ে আমরা বলতেছি যে না, it's there, it's still culturally there, and it's not only for Bangladesh because the colleagues were from all over the world, so it's always there. So এই জিনিসটাকে acknowledge করা, realize করা, and then talking about it to rectify it is very important. So office environment, if you can cultivate something like that, and it is possible যদি আগে থেকে establish থাকে। Then a lot of startups in Bangladesh are doing this, and that's something that I can proudly say that they are establishing these ground-based rules in the office environments. But at the same time, a lot of organizations, especially that don't focus on organizational values or cultures or work ethics or spaces, এখনো এটা আসেনি। So I think that will take time. But the push from the younger generation is there, at least from what I can see, but from a minority group at the same time. There's always a but, I'm sorry. I think that's the problem of being an academic. The minority groups, and আমরা যেরকম আমরা চারজনই যেসব সার্কেল থেকে আসি, I think it's a bubble. ওই বাবল থেকে ভেঙে এসে ওই বাবলের বাইরে কি হচ্ছে ওটা বুঝতে হলে we really have to live with them. যেটা I don't know how many of us did. And that's a major complaint that I have as a development economist, saying that we speak about development. আমরা কজন actually গ্রামে গিয়ে গ্রামের মানুষের সাথে ছিলাম, ওদের জীবনের প্রত্যেকদিন দেখছি, not for এক সপ্তাহ বা 2 সপ্তাহ, but for years and years. How many of us actually have done that? How can we understand their mentality truly? So আমাদের বাবলের বাইরের situation কি I don't know. I just hear the news. I can talk to people, but I can't empathize with them because I don't live their lives. So ওসব জায়গাটা কিভাবে ইন্টিগ্রেট করতে হবে এগুলোর জন্য I think conversations বানানোটা সোজা important, because establishing cultures like this in certain types of office spaces might actually backfire rather than help. So we should be mindful of that. Yeah. Okay, thank you. Back at you. Yeah.
True, but also on that note, আমি যেটা add করতে চাই যে having figuring out people who are same-minded, it's very important in your office setup. And অনেক সময় হয় যে স্পেশালি বাংলাদেশের প্রেক্ষাপটে অনেক মেয়েরা বলতে চায় না, বলে না, বিকজ উই আর ডিপেন্ডিং অন দ্যাট জব, এবং অফিস সেটআপটা আমাদের মানে স্ট্রাকচারটা এরকম ভাবে করা যে মেবি একটু আগের জেনারেশনের কিছু লোকগুলো ইন সুপিরিয়র পজিশন। সো তখন ওইখানে এই জেনারেশনাল গ্যাপটা তাদেরকে বোঝানো যে you know what, I am not appreciating this, but absolutely having a code of conduct and having কাউকে যেহেতু বলতে হবে আগে, there has to be someone to start with. And কিছু মানুষ, I don't know, it's easy to say but it's difficult to execute, and but আমার তারপরও মনে হয় যে founding a community or founding a small niche within that community, যে না, I feel the same, do you feel the same way, and let's speak up about it. Maybe এই জবটা থাকবে না, কিন্তু কালকে যদি আমরা অন্য একটা জবে যাই, we will be able to make a change. আমি আমার ভাইয়ের একটা এক্সাম্পল দিতে চাই এখানে, যদিও সে আমার ভাই, সে আমার younger, he's younger than me. So ও এখন কানাডাতে ইঞ্জিনিয়ারিং নিয়ে পড়াশোনা করছেন। সো সে থাকে সেন্ট জোনসে পড়াশোনা করছে, কিন্তু ইন্টার্নশিপ করার জন্য সে এখন টরন্টোতে আছে। সো ও যে বাসাটাতে উঠেছে সেই বাসাটাকে সে ফেসবুকের থ্রু দিয়ে পেয়েছে বা সামথিং কিছু একটা, তো অ্যাডভার্টাইজমেন্টটা ছিল ডিফারেন্ট, বাট যাওয়ার পরে দেখছে যে ইটস এ ভেরি ডানজন, লাইক বেসমেন্ট, একটা ছোট্ট রুম, একদমই আনলিভেবল, অনেক তোমার বাগস, বেড বাগস, ককরোচেস এন্ড এভরিথিং। এখন ওই একটা বাসার মধ্যে মনে করো 7-8টা ইন্টারন্যাশনাল স্টুডেন্ট থাকে, and nobody is speaking up. And আমার সাথে যখন আমার ভাই কনসাল্ট করে যে পূজা, ও আমাকে পূজা আপু বলেন, I don't want পূজা আপু, but আমাকে বলছে পূজা, how should I deal with this, like nobody is speaking up, and আমার ও খুবই upfront, like he is like this is wrong and I need to express it, and আমি ওকে মাঝে মাঝে বলি যে you have to choose your battles, you have to understand যে sometimes you need to be the bug or sometimes you need to be the windshield, you cannot be both at the same time. So তখন ও যেটা করলো, he didn't listen to me. He went out, he reached out to all the local news telecast people. He reached out to the journalists, he reached out to the fire department, and he made a revolutionary change. Okay, dekhe, তখন everybody came up and speak for it. যে না, this is not a livable condition. Okay, দেখে ওই লোকটারই অন্য যে দুই ব্লক পরে আরেকটা বাড়ি ছিল ঠিক similar condition. All the students came up and speak up for him, like stood up by him. So এই সিনড্রোমটা যেমন নিটুর যে সিনড্রোম, লাইক নিটুর যে আমাদের এটা ক্যাম্পেইনটা শুরু হলো, যে somebody needs to come up and speak up for it. তোমাকে দেখে হয়তো আরো অনেকজন ইন্সপায়ার হয়ে তখন বলবে, somebody needs to take the heat, somebody needs to be the person. Though এখন ভিক্টর, আমার ভাই, he lives in a ওইখান থেকে কোন একটা জার্নালিস্ট তাকে হেল্প করেছে ডিফারেন্ট একটা বাসা পাওয়ার জন্য, he is living very nicely right now. But এই যে ব্যাপারটা যে কোনো সেটআপে মানে breaking the barrier and making a change is difficult at the first place, but somebody needs to do it. It's very hard. আমার ছোটবেলার একটা internship experience ছিল থেকে, I did this internship, I don't want to name the institution I interned for, but I had a very hard experience there. I was matro O-levels শেষ হয়েছে আমার, I was very, very naive, very young, but I didn't like the setup there. I was feeling that I was being biased, I was being discriminated, but I didn't have the guts to come up and talk about it. But right now, এখন মনে হয় যে despite of everything, maybe I'm going to come up and speak up my heart যে this is not how I want to be treated. This is not how you, like, একটু ছোট করে বলা যে আপনি যে কথাটা বললেন, it hurt my emotion or it hurt my feelings and I'm not appreciating that, bhaiya. হয়তোবা আপনি হয়তো মজা করে বলছেন, I understand, but I'm not appreciating that. I don't know যে what would be the ripple effect, maybe bad, maybe good, but maybe ওই মানুষটা হয়তো বুঝতেও পারে যে oh my god, আমি যেটা বলছি সেটা হয়তোবা তাকে মানে এমন একটা হয়তোবা তাকে অপমান করবে, সে হয়তোবা তার নিজের মাথার ভিতর থাকবে যে next time I'm not going to say this thing to another person. I know Faiza has a lot to say on this part, because we had this discussion and I really want to hear from your part, Jay, because you are leading a strong like dynamics and a strong role in your profession. And I strongly believe, I don't want to assume, but I believe Jay, you go through this in real life, in real time. So I would love to hear Jay, how you handle this or how you go through this.
Thanks. Actually, I was hearing Adnan Bhaiya and Samira Apu, and I think like they have said a lot of the things from their experience, which was insightful, and I can't agree more when Adnan Bhaiya said about setting boundaries and setting the tone to begin with. Like, I have zero tolerance to all these craps that you have to say to me, and be really vocal about it. In office space, it's easy. I agree with him. In family space, you are the family black sheep, you are the beadob, jara ekta kotha matite pare na. Thankfully, my lawyer cards plays here well. Je oke to টাকা পয়সা দিয়ে মুখে মুখে তর্ক করা শিখাইছেন, সো আই হ্যাভ আ কার্ড টু প্লে। আমি তো তর্ক করাই শিখছি, বিলেতে গিয়ে শিখছি, সো আমাকে আর কি বলবে। বাট আরেকটা জিনিস থাকে যে পাবলিক প্লেসে, পাবলিক ট্রান্সপোর্টে যখন আমরা এই জিনিসগুলো হয়, এই ধরনের কোনো কিছু যখন আমরা বলতে যাই, তখন মানুষ বলে কি, আরে মেয়ে ভালো মেয়েরা এরকম করে না, ভালো বংশের মেয়ে নিশ্চয়ই খারাপ বংশের মেয়ে, খারাপ মেয়ে দেখে এরকম ইয়া করে, ভালো মেয়েরা জোরে কথা বলে না বা ভালো মেয়েরা প্রতিবাদ করে না, এই যে দ্য হোল কনসেপ্ট অফ ভালো মেয়ে। সো আমার ফ্যামিলির মধ্যেও আমি সবসময় বলি যে, এবং আমার অফকোর্স বিয়ে হয় না এন্ড অল অফ দ্যাট স্টাফ, আমার টার্গেট হচ্ছে আমি কখনো ভালো বউ হইতে চাই না। কেন? কারণ ভালো বউয়ের 100টা দোষ, হ্যাঁ, যে খারাপ তার একটাই দোষ, সে খারাপ। কিন্তু ভালো বউ হওয়া মাত্র 100টা দোষ, যে ও তো ঈদের সময় ফোন করলো না, এই ঈদে আমার চাচি শাশুড়িকে কাপড় দিল না, চাচি শাশুড়ির মামার ছেলে আসছিল বিদেশে তার সাথে দেখা করলো না, 100টা দোষ। আমি ভালো বউ হব না। খারাপ বউয়ের একটাই দোষ, ও খারাপ, ব্যাস শেষ। এখন এই যে ভালো হওয়ার চেষ্টা আমাদের, এবং really trying to prove ourselves to our family, our closest people who tend to get us wrong, and then we expect the world to get us right and make spaces for us when we don't even get that from our own family. So how does that gonna work? I mean, that's a whole question to discuss later. But in my work and professional side, I work in a boys club. Simple as that, because it's football we are talking about. Not, I work in sports industry is male dominated industry, everybody knows. I work in football, and football, and not just in any other region of football, Asia, and not just in any part of Asia, South Asia. So technically I am working in the most gender stereotypical place in the most gender stereotypical industry, which is football. So অনেক ধরনের বায়াস আছে যখন আমরা বায়াস নিয়ে কথা বলি, যেমন মানে you talked about two different biases. হ্যাঁ, আমি নিজেও পার্সোনালি এটা ফিল করি, আমাকে বিয়ে দেওয়ার জন্য ছেলে খুঁজে পাওয়া যাচ্ছে না। কেন? কারণ আমার সাথে মিলতেছে না কোনো ছেলে। আবার যেসব ছেলে মিলতেছে, এক ডাক্তার ছেলে নিয়ে আসছে, তার হচ্ছে না আমরা তো ডাক্তার মেয়ে বিয়ে করব। কেন ডাক্তার মেয়ে বিয়ে করবেন? কারণ ডাক্তার মেয়েরা হচ্ছে সেবা দেয়, মানে তাদের একটা সেবামূলক মানসিকতা থাকে। তো লয়ার মেয়ের কি সমস্যা ভাই? ব্যারিস্টার মেয়ে তো অনেক এডুকেটেড, আপনার ছেলেও বাইরে এডুকেটেড, কি সমস্যা? না, মেয়ে তো মুখে মুখে তর্ক করবে, মেয়ে তো বেশি বুঝে। তো the whole thing যে bias যে কত ধরনের হয়, and then you talked about the class bias. গতকালকে আমার গাড়ি নাই, আমার বাপ মার কারো গাড়ি নাই, আমরা গাড়ি ছাড়া আম জনতা আমরা চলাফেরা করি বাংলাদেশে। সিএনজি নিয়ে ঢুকবো, ড্যাডিসনে সিএনজি ঢুকতে দিবে না। সো দ্য ক্লাস বায়াস। হ্যাঁ, সো এরকম অনেক কিছু আছে আসলে। বায়াস বলতে গেলে ইভেন এরিয়া বায়াস। I was harassed by this faculty in my law school. I'm not going to name the law school, but that guy was sacked later on. But আমি যখন গ্রাজুয়েট করছি তখন সে আবার রিইনস্টল হয়েছে। সো আমি যখন আমার হেড অফ লজ এর কাছে যাই এবং কমপ্লেইনটা দেই, what he said was, আরে চাটগাঁয়া মানুষ তো গরু খায়, রক্ত গরম কি না কি বলে ফেলছে, কি দেখে কি করে ফেলছে, এটা তো আপনি এত কিছু করেন না। And then I had to go to the level of threat যে I'm gonna make a socially viral thing and your reputation would be at stake, you better take this in. So ওই সাইড গুলা, প্লাস দেখতে শুনতে ভালো হলে যেটা হয় যে মানুষ বলে, ও সুন্দর মেয়ে তো এমনি এমনি কাজ হয়ে যায়, আপনার তো বেশি কিছু করা লাগে না, আপনি তো একটু হাসলেই আপনার স্যার লেটার সাইন করে দিবে, এরকম একটা মানে কনসেপ্ট। সো I do agree in a sense that when you are too much qualified, when you offer too much things on the table, it's hard to find people to share the table with, because you need to have your equal, and you cannot go for anything less than that. So the more educated you become, the more qualified you become, the harder it gets to find your equal. So I have to say that that's just the reality that we live with. But age bias er kotha boli. So I'm 27 and I work in an industry where people have 43 years, 50 years of experience just in the football industry. So when me as a 27 years old person goes and tells them, and I'm like, I am the person whose words or whose মানে আমার কথাগুলো ওনাদেরকে মানতে হবে আর কি। হ্যাঁ, সো তখন ওনার কাছে এই পিচ্ছি মেয়েটা কে আসছে, এটা কি মানে who is she to? So I don't know if you remember, Pooja, like even when I was chairing back in the time in Model UN and everything, there were delegates who were like in my committee who were older than me, much older than me. So I would wear specs, I would wear shari, I will do everything to make myself look older. হ্যাঁ, যে যাতে ওই যে এজ বায়াসটা না আসে। So when you talk about bias, কত ধরনের বায়াস আছে। হ্যাঁ, so bias বলে শেষ করা যাবে না। বাট যদি একটা জিনিস বলতে হয় যে বেয়াদব হোক যাই আসুক না কেন, ওইটা দ্যাটস গিভেন, মানে হয়তো চুপ থাকা যাবে না, ইউ সেট ইউর বাউন্ডারি, অল অফ দোজ বিং দেয়ার, দ্যাট বিং দেয়ার। The most hardest thing that I have seen for myself is that I constantly had to prove myself. And I had to be 3 times more qualified than my male counterpart just to prove that I deserve this. So in one of my jobs, I got promoted as the head within 9 months of me joining. And that raised a lot of questions. So I think overall, if I just have to summarize, it's important to set boundaries and be respectful and show the respect, but it's also important to prove yourself and really show people your worth, that you earned it.
Cool. Thank you so much, Apo, for sharing that. I know Adnan Bhai has to go. Thank you so much, Adnan Bhai, for giving me your time, your precious time. I truly appreciate it. I know we ran over our time, but thank you so much. It's been an honor and privilege to have an eminent person like you in this frame together with the other fantastic leaders over here.
Thank you so much for having me. And Samira, অনেকদিন পর দেখে অনেক ভালো লাগছে. Faiza, it's good to finally talk.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye then. Take care. The last question, it's going to be very easy for both of you, I believe. What are some things you have unlearned as an adult, and what was your process of unlearning? ছোট করে তোমরা দুজনে একটু বলো. সামিরা আপু বলো.
I think for me, the biggest thing I had to unlearn, and I'm still unlearning, is like the class, not just the class disparity, but specifically how, as a culture, we treat our household helps. It's something that's such a big, it's such a big part of our upbringing. And I think when you start seeing it from like a very basic human level, you're just like, this is bizarre. And I think that has been my biggest unlearning process in context of Bangladesh. And I think also another thing I'm unlearning is this whole idea of like motherhood and like the graceful mother, etc. Like my sister writes about it a lot. She's the resident good girl in the house, in a family, a really big family. She grew up as like the person, like she was put on pedestal her whole life, still is, and she has really started to come out of that and give me a view of how where I put my mother on pedestal, how easy it is to blame her for things, or to be like, eta bashay thik hoy nai, and she's like, this is literally not my job, right? She never says that, but she does so much, right? So kind of those two things. I guess they're both very service oriented. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that part. It's very important to know, understand all those different. যত তোমরা বড় হচ্ছি যত বোঝা যায় জিনিসটা তত better. ফাইজা আপু, তুমি যদি বলো.
I think people pleasing. I used to be a big time people pleaser, and I would be like, doing everything, going bend over backwards for pleasing people. And that costed me a lot, my emotionally, financially, in every possible way. That has costed me a lot, even in my relationships as well. I'd very openly say that. So আমার কথা হচ্ছে যে people pleasing, এটা আসলে আমাদের ছোট থেকে আস্তে আস্তে করে বিল্ড হয়। যে যখন ছোটবেলায় বাবা বলে যে ও আঙ্কেল আসছে সালাম দাও, বিকজ সালাম না দিলে হচ্ছে মানে
গান শোনাও। হুমায়ুন আহমেদের একটা নাটক আছে, একটু নাচ নিচে দেখো তো, মেয়েটা নাচতে চায় না, একটা থাপ্পড় দিছে, বেয়াদব মেয়ে নাচিস না।
Mine was worse. It was Kobita, which was fine, but then it was like a kautuk shunao, and it was
so yeah, I think I learned a lot of those people-pleasing behavior, and if I just don't like it, I say sorry. I don't. I mean, I say it in a polite way, but I don't like it. I'm not gonna do it. I'm like, whatever you think of me, you can think whatever you can think. You're not paying my bills. Very hardly I would have something to do with you. So okay, good luck. So yeah, I mean, the unlearning process was difficult because first I had to convince myself that I should not be people pleasing. That was the hardest part. Rest of the things were easy, but convincing myself that, oh, this is something that you have to unlearn and relearn how to say no to people on their face. That was tough.
Thank you so much for sharing this beautiful insights of both of you. I have been truly blessed আজকে 11 তারিখ, it has been a blessed day for me, and I will always remember this conversation I had with these three fantastic luminaries of Bangladesh, and Samira Apu, as well as Faiza Apu, and Adnan Bhaiya যে ছিল এতক্ষণ এখন নাই. I am truly thankful to each one of you for being who you are and for being a leader in your own specific fields. And তোমরা হয়তো বা জানো না, বোঝো না, but me, someone young, I truly look up to all three of you with such great awe, how these incredible people are going out there and making lives and being themselves. And I believe the same for so many other young girls out there. Not only young girls, young boys out there who are looking up to you and thinking, yup, I need to think like that. I need to be like that, or I need to talk like Faiza Apu. I should write like Samira Apu. So you all have so much to give, and I'm truly appreciative যে তোমরা আজকে সবাই, you said yes and you gave me your precious time to bold and becoming. And before leaving, I really want to finish that ritual যে তোমরা যদি তোমাদের সেন্টেন্সটা শেষ করতে যে I am bold and becoming whatever you are becoming. I can share mine and start with যে I am bold and becoming an impactful person day by day. And I believe so. I'm becoming an impactful person. I'm trying to create impact and change lives out there. So তুমি যদি বলো Samira Apu, and finish the sentence যে I am bold and becoming whatever you're becoming.
I am bold and becoming the person I've always wanted to be. And it's pretty. I really have to rush, but this was great. Thank you so much.
Thank you
Take
so
care.
much,
Great
Samira
seeing you,
Apu.
Faiza.
Bye.
Okay.
Take care.
Right, thank you so
Samira,
much.
Faiza Apu, তুমি যদি বলো.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.
I think I would say I'm bold and becoming myself because there is no second me.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Thank you so much for being you. I truly love you and I truly appreciate you with all my heart. Thank you so much.